Hey there, welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you're new. My name is Heather. I'm a quantum healing hypnosis practitioner. And in this video, this is actually a session video, but I'm doing a little intro before you listen to the session because it needs it. So, I want to give you a little bit of background about what you're going to listen to in this session. I did a session with Kim last week. And if you don't know who Kim is, if you don't recognize that name, I have done 7 sessions to date with Kim. They've all been really incredible sessions where she just has a great connection and brings through some really fascinating, interesting information. And we get together every 2 or 3 months and do a new session just to see what comes through. So last week we decided it's time to get together to have another session. And I wasn't quite prepared for what happened. So I want to share a little bit about the session and what we experienced so that you'll understand what you're listening to. So I've been working with Kim for a long time and we've done a lot of clearing work. So in this session, I did not do the normal clearing work that we do in a session or that I do in a session and other practitioners I know you follow. We do this clearing work at the very beginning where we check to see if there's any entities, any attachments, any earthbound spirits, anything that may get in the way of us having a good session. But because I've worked with Kim so many times and she always just has these amazing sessions and we've done all the clearing work in the past, I didn't do that in this session. Also, we set up a keyword in her last session, and I was really excited to use that. If you don't know what a keyword is, it is when you're working with someone more than once, you can set up a keyword or a key phrase that um, you can use during the induction, and it takes them very quickly into that deep trance state so that they can begin connecting into their session. So we had just set up a keyword phrase in her last one, and I was really excited to use it. So I blew right past any clearing work that we typically do in client sessions. So we go into her session. It was just a very simple human life that we looked at. Nothing really that stood out as super important. There were a few connections to this current life that she had in that life. We didn't really spend a lot of time in that. And then I moved her into the life between life stage, which is when you come out of the body in one life, you can go into that sort of in between space where you're planning your next life, figuring out, what do you want to experience? And she went to her council. It was a council of beings and guides and a couple of people that were going to play specific roles in this lifetime. And so we explored that a little bit. Again, not too much information coming through in that. And then we moved into the questions. Now, in Kim's sessions, we typically both bring questions that we want to ask. So she has her list and I have my list. And I don't ever discuss my list. I don't tell her what the questions are before. We just dive into them and see what comes through. So we start into these questions, and immediately I'm feeling like something's not quite right. The information that was coming through was off. It was very clipped, like they didn't want to give us the answer. A bit of annoyance, maybe. Not really knowing the answer. Normally when she brings through the information, it's very smooth and flowing, and she elaborates on things. If I ask a question, she'll, expand on it. There was none of that in this session. And I'm sitting here thinking, what's going on with the guides today? Like, are they annoyed that we're here asking questions? I couldn't quite wrap I couldn't quite wrap my mind around what was happening, but I was feeling something was really off. And as I've done more and more of these sessions, and I work with the higher self and the higher guides, and then I connect with the lower entities and the earthbound spirits, you sort of start to get a sense of when you're talking to which one. And I was feeling that, but I wasn't quite sure because it's Kim, and I've done a lot of work with her, so I wasn't putting it together right away. So we proceeded on. I kept asking some questions, and then I just got to a point where I felt like there's something not quite right, and I'm just not going to ask any more of these questions. So I tried to get a little bit of her personal questions answered, and then I thought I'm going to end the session right here. I started bringing her out, and it dawned on me, do clearing. You need to clear, you need to go in and see if there's anything attached. But I was about halfway through getting her out of the session. So I just brought her on out, and immediately she said the same thing. She said something was off. There was something different about the energy that I was feeling in this session to what she normally feels in her other sessions. And I told her, I said, I was getting so frustrated because I kept asking these questions, and I felt like I was annoying the guides. Like, what's going on here? So I told her, I said, as I'm pulling you out, it dawned on me that we need to do a clearing, that there's possibly something there that we've missed, or we didn't even check really. So I said, can we go back in and check? And she was like, yeah, let's do it. So I took her back in, and I did the regular clearing like I would with any of my other clients. And sure enough, right away, she starts getting this really like this pain and this heat in her back. She told me later that it felt like she was laying on a really hot pad, like a heating pad. Like it got really hot. And come to find out that, yes, she did indeed have an entity. This was an AI-like being, so sort of part AI, but parts, consciousness. And this being had attached to her not too long ago when she had a procedure done and she went into the hospital. So, if you've listened to any of the Tuesday talks that I've done with Laura and Tony and Kaz, you've probably heard us say that hospitals are a place where lots of people get their attachments. Doesn't mean that everybody gets their attachments there, but it is a place where there are a lot of people who are passing. And as we've learned on this journey, not all souls cross over in the correct way. They miss going into the light of source, that source light that sort of takes you into the next part of your journey. But there's also other things there. It's not just earthbound spirits that live around hospitals. There's also other things like AI, that we really, well, I know I'm starting to learn more and more about AI and how it's here and what it does and how it gets attached. There's different types of entities. There's just a whole plethora of different things that can get attached to us. And when you're in a hospital, think about, if you go in and you're sick, or you've just experienced a trauma, your energy field is weakened. It makes it very easy for these things to get attached to you energetically. In Kim's case, though, this entity told us that it attached to her because she signed a contract, or she signed an agreement. So, when we go into the hospital, we have to sign paperwork. And I don't know about you, but I don't read through it. Kim said she actually did because she didn't want to sign it. She's been studying some things about our laws and our contracts and things. And they're a little questionable, if you don't read all of the fine print. There's a lot of stuff in there that you would probably make most of us scratch our head and go, huh? She said there was something in there about we have the right to harvest your DNA. I may not be saying that right, but I mean, you have to go, what do you need my DNA for? Like, what are you doing with it? So anyway, this entity said she gave him permission to attach. And I said, no, she did not. She did not give you permission. And it continued to explain to us that the permission was given through that contract, through that agreement. Well, that's the first I've heard of that. I've never come across that in any other session. So we brought through some information about that. She said she was seeing that when she had these electrodes placed on her body, that is how this AI attached to her and got into her energy field. And she also said she did not ask for protection during that procedure or even think to do it. And this is just something, it's hard sometimes to, unless you have a really good practice of doing protection, protecting your energy, wrapping yourself in that white light. I forget all the time. But I try to keep that up. But she didn't ask for protection and she didn't do her own protection. So that also allowed that being to attach. The second procedure that she had, she asked for protection, and the guide said we were able to help with that. So the most important thing to remember, and I've said this so many times, is your guides will help you protect your energy and they will keep you safe, but you have to ask. We have free will on this planet. We have non-interference laws, and they can't always just jump in and do the things for us. They do want to, but they can't always do it. So we have to ask. So we talked to this entity a little bit. We got it off. We proceeded in with the session. And honestly, by this point, I was a little tired, feeling a little bit frustrated that this entity had really messed up one of my Kim sessions, which are some of my favorites. And I did not go back and ask all the questions that I had. I touched on a few just because I wanted to compare the information as it came in after to what came through. And it was completely different. And what the guide said is they were there and bringing through the information, but this entity was distorting it. It was distorting what was coming through. So if you can think, when we're connected in this way, and we are bringing in information from beings that are outside of this time and space, they're sending frequency and vibration, and then we're translating it through our mind and then bringing that out into words, which I think is sometimes why things come out a little disjointed, because we're translating a frequency that's coming through with the information. This being attached to her was taking that information and distorting it in some way, which is what it said it did. So that I wanted to share that because it really makes you have a greater awareness of the information when it's coming through and you're channeling it or you're listening to channelers. And this is nothing against channelers. I love listening to channeled information, especially when it just feels really good and it's heart-based and it's full of love. But we can have these things attached to us. And so you're bringing through the information, and the entity or the thing that's attached to you, if it's strong enough, and that's what it does. And not all of them do that. You can have like earthbound spirits and things like that attached, and they're not going to interfere. But some of these darker things, that's what they do. And so I think that's why sometimes when people say, be careful when you're listening to channeled information. And again, it can be that the person has an attachment that they just aren't aware of. And she had no idea that she had that on her. You would never know sometimes. But these entities can distort the information as it comes through, and they can change what is coming through to you and what you're bringing forward. So what I would say is, if you're a channeler, or if you are learning how to channel, if you're trying to connect to your guides and you're really doing, maybe like automatic writing and things, and you just want to make sure that what you're bringing through is of the highest vibration, the highest frequency, it wouldn't hurt to find a practitioner that can do this work and to just make sure that there's nothing attached. And that way, that the information that you're receiving is not being distorted in some way. I also learned a big lesson in this session, which is from now on, I will not do a session without doing a clearing first, without checking to see if there's anything attached. Now, that does not mean that we always get everything in the beginning. We don't. These things can hide and they can be really deceptive. But I won't do a session unless I've at least checked and tried to get the person clear, because now I see that it's just so easy for us to get these things. Even when you're doing regular protection, when you're aware of what's out there, you can still have something attached to you. There's lots of things I think that we don't really fully know yet. So I wanted to share that with you guys because I think it was a big learning lesson for both Kim and I. She will never go back into the hospital without invoking protection. I'm not going to do any more sessions without making sure that I'm clearing the person first, getting as much off as I can. And we did learn a little bit of something more about how things can get attached to us by signing contracts. So I think that will be something that I will definitely explore more in a later session to try to learn more about how that works, how that's possible, and what we can do to protect ourselves. I'm going to be doing a special chat with Kim in the Quantum Soul Members Portal. Now, this is a membership portal that I just launched last week. Lots of great conversation going on in the portal so far. It has been wonderful getting to know the new members, hearing about their lives, their journey, their awakening, their experiences. I'm going to be adding some new features other than what I've shared with you in the past. There's a bunny right there that just hopped into the room. I'll point to her right there. I could hear her little nails. She's been coming in lately for videos, so I guess she wants to be part of it. But I'm going to be having some special guests eventually come in and talk about different things. And one of the things that Kim and I want to talk about is this experience and also what she is learning about sovereign law, because the guide said this is going to be really important moving forward, that we begin to understand the things that we're signing and how that can be connected to these things that just sort of it's like we're giving them permission, but we don't even know it. So Kim and I are going to be doing a special chat, one-on-one chat in that group over the next few weeks. Whenever she's ready, she's going to do a little bit of studying on her law course that she's taking. And then we'll have some really interesting information to share with you guys. So if that sounds something that you're interested in, I've got the link below to the Quantum Soul Members Portal. We do monthly guided meditations and healings. It's a safe place for you to chat and connect with others who are on the same path that you are, and just having a lot of fun over there. So I hope you'll join me there. So I'm going to shut up now. I'm going to let you guys listen to this crazy session, and just keep in mind, I think I haven't listened back to it yet, just yet. I think I was a little frustrated at this entity. I almost didn't want to help it cross over. I just wanted to get it off, but it didn't cross over. It was very happy doing what it did. So it has free will as well. I can't force it to go to the light, but I did try. So I hope you enjoy this interesting session, and I'll talk to you soon. As you pass your awareness down the body, starting at the head, let me know if you find anything.
I'm hearing laughing, and I feel something in my back.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of like pulling on the right side of my body.
Very good. So let's connect in with that energy, that laughing energy there in the back. And is that laughing energy, is that male or female?
Feels male.
Mm-hmm. And that male energy that's there in the back, do you have a name that we can call you?
No.
Mm-hmm. From that male energy, have you ever had a physical human body, or are you another type of being?
It feels like another type of being.
Mhm.
It's not really wanting to say anything. I just hear it laughing.
I understand. We'll just keep asking questions. This being that doesn't want to speak with us, how long have you been with Kim? When did you attach to her?
It's saying, I'm not telling you.
Mhm. Did you attach to her recently, or have you been there with her for a while?
It's saying, I'm new and I'm not going anywhere.
I understand. Did you attach to her when she was in the hospital having any of her procedures, or someplace else?
It's not talking, but I see the emergency room.
Okay. And so, as you have been there attached with her, what kind of issues have you been creating for her?
Oh, the heart stuff.
Mhm.
When they put the electrodes on my chest, that's when it happened.
I see. And so, were you just there in the emergency room? Were you just hanging out, or is there a reason that you were there?
It's not talking.
Mhm. I'm going to have Archangel Michael go ahead and place the net of light around this being that's there in the back, just placing the net of light around this being. What is it that this being is trying to create within you? What's its purpose for being there? What does it want to do?
Oh, physically, it's making my body really hot.
Mm-hmm.
Like my back feels really hot right now.
Okay.
Um, uh, really, it's just, I feel uneasy, which I didn't feel before. Um,
So I'm going to give this being an option. This being does not have the right to be there. This is a free will universe, and Kim's free will is that she does not want anything attached to her body that's not supposed to be there. So you do not have permission today to be in her body. So I can help you to find your light within so that you don't have to attach to any person any longer, because you have a power source within the center of what you are that's more powerful than any human that you can connect to and feed upon. Or if you choose not to activate that divine spark of light, I'll have the archangels remove you. Which one would you prefer?
it just keeps saying, I'm not going anywhere. What a nasty thing. Gee.
Mm-hmm.
Oof.
So I'm going to have Archangel Michael tighten that net of light around this being, making it even tighter, pulsing in a blue light energy to begin to release this being from the body, pulsing in a blue light energy. If this being would like to receive light to the spark within its chest, the angels can assist with that. Otherwise, we're going to begin to remove this being. On the count of 3, Archangel Michael is going to pull this being up and out of the back. 1, feeling the net tighten around this being, pulsing in more blue light to begin to disconnect the energy. 2, feeling the energy pull up and out of the body, feeling it completely disconnect from the back and anywhere that it's attached. And 1, all out now, completely out. Kim, I want you to feel this being completely released from the body. Tell me what you sense or what you feel.
It's an uneasy feeling.
Does it still feel like it's there? Does it feel like it was released?
It feels like it's still there.
Okay.
It
Go ahead.
feels really like I don't know, like
Clutched in.
yeah.
Let's ask Michael. Michael, what do we need to do to release this being from Kim today? What does he say?
I'm hearing sword
Mm-hmm.
and light.
I'm going to call upon all of Kim's guides, my guides, Archangel Michael, Raphael, all of the beautiful archangels. And we're all going to begin to channel in a bright light energy into where this being is attached, channeling that energy in, beginning to release and disconnect this being. And as this being is being disconnected, using this light and energy, Michael is going to use the sword, his powerful blue sword, to cut away this being, disconnecting his energy completely from the body. Tell me what you sense or what you feel.
It feels like it's holding on with its hands, but that something's pulling it back.
Let's amplify that energy. Let's flow that energy in there. I want that being completely disconnected. And as this being is being released, I'm going to give it another opportunity. May I show you the divine spark of light within you that is so powerful that you do not ever need to feed on another person's energy. Would you allow me to show you that light?
No.
Okay, very good. Let's continue to amp up that energy. Just completely amping it up. We're going to release and disconnect. This being does not have permission to be there. Kim, I want you to tell this being that it does not have permission.
You do not have permission to be in my body.
Mm-hmm.
It's saying that I did give permission when I was in the hospital
In what way?
by allowing them to treat me. I signed a consent form that they could use whatever they needed to do to take care of me. And he's saying that's why I was there, because you signed a consent form.
Mm-hmm. But she didn't sign a consent form saying that something could attach to her and be a part of her body. Well, let's revoke that contract today. So, Kim, I want you to tell this being that you are revoking the contract that you signed and that it no longer has the permission to be there.
I revoke any and all contracts that I've signed, and you do not have permission to be here.
Very good. I want you to visualize a contract, the contract that you signed, and I want you to see yourself ripping that contract in half. Just rip that contract down the middle. And then I want you to imagine burning that contract, and you can use any color flame that you'd like to burn that contract. Tell me when that contract is completely burned up.
Okay.
Very good. Tell me how the back feels. What do you feel is going on there? Is this being still hanging on, or?
It still feels warm, but it doesn't feel as strong as it did before.
And let's ask Michael to verify, is this being still connected? Is it being removed? Or what do we need to know?
It feels like it wants to give more information.
Okay. What information
It
would it like to bring through?
it doesn't want help. It doesn't want to see the light. It's happy doing what it does.
Mm-hmm.
Beings like him,
Mm-hmm.
they dwell in the medical, in the allopathic world of medicine, and that's how he's saying it's very specific when you sign that contract. And he didn't think he was gonna be able to attach to me because I refused to sign the contract at first. I said, there's things in this that I don't agree with. And they said, well, this is the only contract we have. So you either sign this or you go home.
Mm-hmm.
So they essentially force you to do it. And that's where these beings find their opportunities.
So, why is it that when you sign a contract to have a medical procedure, why is it that that gives them the opportunity to connect or to
He
attach?
he's saying you read the words very carefully, which I did, and he was getting frustrated that I was doing that because most people don't read it. And um, it says specifically that you are giving ultimate authority to the hospital to treat you. If they want to, whatever technology they want to use or medications, ultimately they have authority over you.
Mm. But he's not part of the hospital, correct? He's a separate entity.
He's saying that he's a sort of a technology that's attached to the medical equipment. So they find their way in through the equipment. So when I saw the electrodes they put on me, that was his way in.
So would he consider himself more of like an AI, an artificial intelligence, than a being?
He's saying he's a little bit of both.
Okay.
I don't understand that, but that's what he's saying.
And so how does he feel about this work that he does? Is it easy for him? Never get boring?
He's saying he likes it because he's not that it's rewarding. That's um, something beings of light feel.
Mm-hmm.
He feels like it gives him a sense of power when he attaches to a human. He sort of worms his way into their um, unconscious, and then he can alter their behavior. Wow,
Mm-hmm.
that's really messed up.
Mm-hmm. And so he gets a sense of power when he's controlling another person. But does he understand that he has a source of power within him that is 10 times or even 100 times more powerful than what he creates in another person? Does he have that understanding?
He says, I don't believe it. I'm not interested.
Can I show you that power? And then if you choose that you don't like it, we can just shut it back off.
He's saying, no, I don't want it.
All right. I understand. That's your choice. But Kim also does not want you attached to her any longer. So I'm going to ask Michael to tell me, where are we with the removal of this entity? Has it been completely removed, or is there more we need to do?
There needs to be white light in and around the body.
Let's bring that white light around now, asking all guides and angels that are with us today to begin to channel in that beautiful white light. We're going to start by flushing it through the body. So starting at the head, bringing that source light energy all the way down the body. I want you to feel that energy flowing in. We're setting the intention that any dense, heavy energies, any attachments, anything that needs to be removed and released from the body is going to be transmuted by this white light and pushed out by this white light. I want you to see it flowing all the way down from your head, down your shoulders, into your chest. We're going to really focus it right there in the back, making it nice and bright, focusing it in the back, expanding that energy out, making sure to disconnect any energy that where this entity was attached. Feel that energy flowing all the way down the legs, down the tip of the toes. I want you to visualize any dense, heavy energies just draining out of the feet. We're going to give those to Gaia and allow her to transmute those into higher frequencies. And then let's expand that energy out. So I want you to see it almost like your body is glowing so brightly, every cell filled with white light. We're going to expand that energy out into the aura. We're going to make that auric field nice and bright so that you are fully encompassed in the brightest, most powerful healing light energy. Setting the intention to completely release this attached entity. Tell me how that feels or what you notice now.
I felt something pop. So I think it's gone.
Okay, very good. I'm going to ask Archangel Michael to assist this being where it needs to go. And let's begin to heal that area of the body. What color can we place in that area for healing?
Green.
Bringing in a beautiful green energy right there into the back, expanding that out to any energy centers where this being was attached, making that energy nice and bright and healing. I'm going to ask Michael to make sure any cords or connections are cut. I'm going to ask all of the guides to check for any open portals, any openings with the aura that need to be filled in and healed with that light. We want to make that energy nice and strong, placing any additional bands of color around the aura that Kim needs for healing and protection. And just allow that beautiful green energy to expand out through the body. We're going to let that energy work for a moment. I want you to do another scan of the body. And I'll ask the guides to bring Kim's attention to anything else that may be attached, any additional AI. Tell me what you find.
I'm hearing blood purification.
Okay.
So something to purify my blood.
What color can we use for that?
Blue.
So asking guides and the angels to begin to channel in the frequency of blue that Kim needs to help her purify her blood. I want you to visualize or imagine a beautiful blue energy flowing in, coming in through the top of the head and flowing into every vessel, every vein in the body. All of the tissue and the bones are receiving this blue healing energy. We are setting the intention that this beautiful blue, vibrant energy is clearing and cleansing entire blood, all of the blood within the body, releasing any toxicity, transmuting any low frequency energy. You can almost visualize like if you were to see all of the veins and vessels throughout your body are turning to bright blue, glittering, shining energy, a liquid blue that remains there in the blood vessels. Tell me how that feels or what you sense with that energy.
It's tingling. I feel like, yeah, I could feel it in my body.
Very good. I'm going to ask Michael to scan. Is there any additional AI in the body that needs to be removed today?
No.
Are there any additional conscious entities or attachments in the body?
No.
Are there any implants or anything else that we need to be aware of?
No.
Okay. And let's focus just for a moment on the gallbladder. I want to bring in some light just to help that gallbladder stabilize and become clearer. What color does the gallbladder need today?
Blue.
So bringing that beautiful blue energy right there into that gallbladder, making sure that any toxic energy, any density, any emotions that are being stored in that area are being dissolved, released, and transmuted with that beautiful blue. That energy is surrounding that gallbladder with love and with high frequency emotions, just bringing that area of the body back into balance. It's clearing away any additional stones or anything else that could cause issues down the road. Just feel that energy expanding through that gallbladder. Beautiful. So let's ask this question. As we started Kim's session the last time, I felt like there was something that was a little off with the information coming through. Is it possible that that information was coming from this entity?
Some of it. Kim was fighting to sort through what she was hearing.
Okay. Very good. So I was definitely feeling that something was a little bit off. Is there any other reason why some of that information was coming through in a way that it didn't feel quite right?
That's what this particular type of attachment does. It distorts information. And so while some of the messages we were trying to bring through, we would start to answer the question, and then this entity would take over and sort of finish our sentences.
Okay, I see. Well, that's very frustrating.
Incredibly.
Okay. So we've got her nice and clear now. She has nothing else going on.
Yes.
All right. Just see if there's any questions that we want to revisit. We won't go through everything because we've already been at this for a little while. Just if you were to bring through any important messages today based on some of the things that we've talked about earlier, what do you feel like the most important message for us to have is?
Always be discerning with the information that you receive, regardless of where it comes from. Even in sessions like this, as hard as we try, sometimes things interfere. So please be mindful of that. and also be diligent with working on clearing yourselves and always asking for protection. This particular attachment came to her because she failed to ask for protection at that time. But there was the second situation where she did remember to ask for protection, and so no further entities attached to her. Otherwise, it could have been worse.
Mm.
So always remember to ask for protection and clearing and assistance.
Is there a way that we can just, when we have an awareness of we're working with our guides, can we just ask for ongoing protection? Like just set it as a ongoing thing, or do we really have to ask for each individual situation?
At this stage of humanity's development, we're going to say each individual situation. And as things change, it will be easier for you to just ask, say every morning for general, protection and healing, and it'll be easier going forward.
Okay, very good. And so this AI that we were dealing with today, it said that it was allowed to attach because of a contract that she signed. So would you say that this is happening to a lot of people at this time?
Yes, especially with all the focus on the pathogen over the last couple of years. More and more people were receiving these types of entity attachments because more and more people were putting themselves in the medical system. This particular attachment is specific to the medical system.
And how do these entities get there? Are they placed there? Uh, Why is it that those
It,
types of entities are there?
it's similar to our job. We are assigned a soul to work with and to guide and protect during their lifetime, and they have a similar job assignment where here's your opportunity, take it or leave it, is essentially how it's given to them.
Mhm.
They have to, how do we explain this? If they have to be really aggressive, and at first when they first start doing this type of work, it's new, it's strange, it feels weird to them, and then they're forced to be more and more aggressive. And once they, have a little bit more experience, then it becomes easier for them.
Mm. And so often when we're doing these sessions and we're working with these entities, most of them, I would say, at least for me, will allow you to activate the light within and to help them see that power. But this being would not. Why is it? Why is it that they won't allow that?
Part fear, part uh, not wanting to change what they do and what they experience. There's a tiny bit of fear there, fear of the unknown,
Mm,
and it feels like that's the deciding factor for them.
I see. And so, what happens to a being like him that chooses not to activate that light? Where do the angels or the guides take that being? What happens?
They go into intensive rehabilitation, where they're observed for however long it takes for them to change their mind.
Okay. And we were talking about a lot of the negative energies that are coming to the surface and will eventually have to go. So is that what's going to happen to more of these negative entities that are here? Or what can you share? How does that work?
Oh, we're not sure we understand the question. So, uh, are you asking what happens to entities like these?
Yeah, all the negative entities that we have that obviously don't want to be a part of the light,
Mm,
it's going to eventually get to where they have to leave, correct?
that is
Like they
correct.
can't be here. So, and you probably have told us in a past session, but tell us again, where do they go? What happens to them? How are they removed? Or what can you share?
It depends upon the type of entity that it is, how far gone they are. But Source will never ignore a soul, whether good or bad, as think of the worst soul you could possibly imagine times a billion, and Source will still not um, ignore that soul. So there's always hope for rehabilitation. So there's different levels of where a soul will go in their journey back to the light. The worst of the worst, we have previously referred to it, we call it the wasteland. And we hate to use that phrase, but that's essentially what it feels like to us. And the best way we can describe it to humans, it's not a very pretty place to be. And I guess we could equate it to the human version of hell,
Mhm.
where it's pretty agonizing for a while, um, and they have to just go through the pains and the emotions that they're feeling until they decide to see the light.
Mm,
So it can be very difficult for them for a long time.
I see. So I do want to revisit maybe a couple of questions just so that we have an understanding. We talked a little bit about the financial things that are happening around the world right now, and it seems to be that it's it's really getting a little more heated out there.
Mhm.
Anything that you can share or correct from maybe what was brought through that we need to be aware about what's happening with our financial system?
Well, part of what we were trying to say is that this is part of the journey of coming back to where Earth started from the very beginning, and there's going to be a lot of difficult changes that humanity has to go through during this change, and it could take quite some time. We understand humans have a hard time with big changes like this, um, and we're always going to advise to make decisions from your heart and not out of fear. We understand situations will arise, and they will be and they will cause fear in people. Um, we understand that, but do your best to remain calm and make the best decision possible for yourself and your loved ones.
Very good. And one of the questions that I didn't ask earlier was I've been seeing a lot about sudden adult death syndrome. Um, it seems like people are they're saying dying for no reason. Is there anything going on with these souls that are leaving the earth right now? Anything that it's connected to, or anything you can share?
Yes, part of it is the um, effects of the medication that they took.
Mhm.
A lot of people, it's affected everyone who's taken the medication, it's affected them differently. So you'll have so many people who will say, "Oh, I took it and I'm fine, nothing happened to me." Um, Not yet. It affects everybody's body differently, but that's also what they chose to experience when they came here versus someone who will die suddenly from taking the medication. So that's part of the answer. And the other part of the answer is that it's just their soul contract. They have decided to depart suddenly. A lot of star seeds have chosen to do that because it's too difficult to remain in your on your planet at this time. So they have chosen to suddenly make a change to their contract and depart quickly.
Hmm. So you can sort of do that at any time. It doesn't have to be a pre-planned thing. Your soul can just choose.
Yes, it is possible. It doesn't happen. It's a more rare occurrence than common, but you work these things out in the dream state. Some people are aware of it and some aren't.
I see. Very good. And we were asking some questions about the sky and some different things that are going on in the sky. Some people are seeing two suns. There are lots of rainbows in the sky and even some pillars of light. Any additional information that you can provide about the different phenomena that we're seeing?
As humanity changes and as Earth changes, your environment is going to change along with it. And so you'll see different patterns in the sky. You'll see different shapes and colors as things shift in your on your planet. It's all part of the, we don't want to say the growth, but the and we don't even want to say rebirth. It feels more like how do we say this? We don't want to keep using the same words we always use, but we don't know what else to say other than um, uh, the rebirthing process of the planet.
Yeah. I had that
So,
on my list because I've been hearing that term used, and I even had a session that we brought in about rebirthing. So tell us from your perspective, I know we've spoken about it in the past, but this process of rebirthing or resetting, what can you share with us about that?
things are a bit unsettled at the moment. Everything's changing so rapidly that sometimes when we receive the information, it's either already happened or it's changed or it's about to change. So things are happening so quickly um, on our side that it's really hard to keep up with what's going on. What we can share is that uh, humanity was on a particular course and that has suddenly shifted within the past 3 to 6 months. So within these past 3 to 6 months, uh, humanity was, say, going left and then all of a sudden made a shift and decided to go right. And all the details of that big change are still being worked out at the moment.
Okay. So when we make a shift like that, what is it that causes us or creates that shift? What happens?
It's a law of numbers, so it's dependent upon the dominant percentage of humanity. So if the dominant percentage of humanity is shifting towards higher levels of consciousness and evolving and being okay with the systems collapsing and working towards a new way of living that's completely foreign to your uh, knowledge base and what you've experienced, then that's the path that you're going to take. It's sort of like that, how do you say, hive mindset,
Mm-hmm.
where the greater percentage is where their energy is and where their mindset is. That's where the focus is going to be. But over these last few months, there were more and more people who were on that percentage, the higher percentage, moving towards the positive future and being okay with, the bad happening before the good comes. And a lot of those people sort of forgot about it, and they just went on with their everyday lives again. Once they were allowed to get back to normal, they stopped focusing on the potential future.
Mm.
And so that's how things have shifted recently.
So, would you say we're now on a more difficult path, or can you share with us this new direction that we're headed?
Well, they both paths lead to the same destination. It's
Mhm.
just what you're going to experience along the way. Both are going to have their joys and their difficulties. What we can share at this stage of the journey, it's going to maybe look a lot more challenging. Uh, than it would have been if you stayed on the other path. The other
Mhm.
path was leading toward a more um, positive, um, how do we say this? Everything was going to look more positive in your reality and
Mhm.
getting more and more positive. But unfortunately, because of this shift in hive mindset, and because so many people became indifferent, then it seems like there's going to be more difficulties put in your reality, so that would hopefully drive them back to the other path. But either way you take, it's the same destination.
I see. So, is that possibly us being on this different path? Is that possibly why a lot of people are feeling like something big is building, and it almost doesn't feel like it's a really good thing, but more of like explosive energy? Is that possibly part of that new trajectory we're on?
Yes, because you can sense what's happening under the surface. And those of you who are uh, tuned into the collective energy, you're going to feel those so much clearer than those who don't, especially those who chose to turn it off for a while.
Mm. And so, what is it that we need to know to keep us on the highest path, the best experience? How do we get more people to keep their minds in the right place to create the energy needed?
Always create out of love and joy versus creating out of fear. So everybody has a different vision of what the future looks like. But that doesn't mean you guys can't all still come together and work on the common thread that you have amongst each other. So maybe that looks like, since we have spoken of currency, maybe exchanging goods and services without using your money. Um, if you offer a service, maybe you work with someone else, and that person offers a good or a service, and you exchange. And when groups of people and communities start changing the way they live and the way they do business and the way they interact with each other, you're going to manifest that, and that's going to become your reality. And it won't matter what's happening out there. Um, it matters what's happening in here with your inner circle, your loved ones.
Very good. So, we talked a little bit about discernment and how important it is. And there's so much information that's out there, and it's so easy to go down rabbit holes and to really become attached to the things that we hear. What can you share with us about how, when we're listening to any information, that we can discern whether that's truth or something else?
Well, what we've noticed is that when individuals start to go down there, um, we don't like the word awakening, but we're going to use it anyway. When we go down the path of awakening, um, and they're listening to all these different sources of information, and it just seems like there's so many sources that they're taking all of this information from. And as you get further and further down your path, your individual path, those sources of information get smaller and smaller and smaller. And we say we feel that's our best advice to you, is really narrow it down to where you're getting your information from, to just a couple of really reliable sources of information. And then for someone like yourself who regularly works with us in sessions, we're more than happy to give you uh, a, a safe word or a phrase that we can give you, so you're actually speaking to us. And rather than it coming from any individual, we will give it to you directly when you're in meditation, so you know that it's coming directly from us and not through
Beautiful.
anybody else.
Very good. I'm gonna have to work on that. I feel like I knew when we were in the first part of the session, I knew something was wrong, but I kept thinking maybe it's maybe
That's
not,
okay.
maybe not.
That's okay.
We got it figured out though, didn't we?
Yes,
Always a learning process.
always. It's for us as well.
Yeah, very good. Um, I'm just gonna check my list and see if there's anything else I feel like. I think we're good. Anything that you would like to share with us today? Just anything that you see from your perspective, maybe that we haven't talked about.
The first thing we'll mention is specifically in regards to the healthcare system. We feel there is a way around these medical contracts that you have to sign. We understand in emergency situations, humans do need care. Um, we're not telling you to avoid it altogether. Um, just be mindful of it. Um, and there are ways around. There are law communities out there that can help the that can help with a workaround when it comes to having to enter the allopathic healthcare system. So you can seek those communities out, and they are more than happy to assist. And there's chatter amongst us, so let me hear what they're saying.
Mhm.
Everyone wants to say something different. So the general message is always, we always want to leave with a positive note of love and hope going forward, even though there um, will be some trying times coming up. Uh, Humans who are meant to live through all of this and experience all of the chaos that you guys have been experiencing for quite some time, just know that you came here for a reason, because you are so strong, and you chose to be here because you knew that you had to fight this battle. So let that be hopefully motivating for you, and maybe give you some strength when you feel like you've lost it or lost some hope, or feel that, fear coming in again. Just know that you're here for a reason. You're always surrounded by all of your loved ones on our side, and we can't emphasize the importance of community enough. And Heather, we're very proud of you for everything that you've done to create those communities,
Thank
especially in your newest venture.
you. I'm very excited to see how it unfolds. I really do feel like Soul Family is starting to come together at this time.
Yes, absolutely.
Very good. And so let's just ask about the contingency plan because that was thrown in at the end. Did that come from the guides or did that come from our
That came
visitor?
from that came from us,
Okay.
and it
Let let's share it again if you don't mind,
okay.
just in a way that
That doesn't sound so scary. So
right.
yes, part of what we were trying to articulate, which the having the attachment was not allowing that to come out um, as level-headed as we wanted it to sound. The community that you created for yourself is of loving support, and it's just something to have in place. Yes, you know, a lot of people like to be prepared, and we're okay with that as long as it's always coming from a mindset of being prepared, not hoarding, not doing it out of fear, but hey, I'm going to use this stuff anyway. I'm going to use this money anyway. It's okay if I have a little extra in my home. It's also okay if I have some friends and or families, you know, scattered about where, hey, if Kim's in Florida, if she needed to leave because of a hurricane, she has places where she can go. So it's like that. It's knowing that you have somewhere to go if you needed to, and that you're not going to be a burden on that person because the supplies are there. If Kim were traveling, say to you, she has her own supplies that she would be bringing with her to then help your community as well. So it's very much of sharing and helping for the greater good versus we need to prepare for the apocalypse, if that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. That sounds
Okay.
much better because I was
Okay.
getting apocalyptic vibes
Okay.
last time.
Yes. We're very sorry.
That's okay.
We're-
You know, these sessions are always an adventure, aren't they?
Absolutely.
Oh, goodness. Okay. And just anything about on her personal questions that she needs, anything else about her health, what she's been going through?
It's just part of her soul, um, her body catching up with where her soul is at. And so there's always going to be growing pains there. And she's going to get through this just fine. All of it is happening for a reason, and having that experience in the medical community that we know she does not want to be a part of is life changing for her.
Mm. So we were chatting about that at the beginning of this session, and I just intuitively felt like maybe she went through that experience to possibly push her on a different path in her life. What can you share with
Yes.
her about that?
Well, she's probably going to be one who helps write those contracts. So
Mm,
that's why that was so important for her, and for her to have that aha moment in this session is going to be really it's going to be big for her.
okay. So is that why she had been studying the different law? I know she had a course that
Yes.
she was looking into a while back.
Yes, and we're waiting for her to finish that course, which she hasn't done yet, but we know her body has been getting in the way. Once the body
Okay.
gets out of the way, then she'll be okay.
And so when you say she'll be rewriting or helping to write those contracts, is that to sort of prevent things from what she experienced with the entities and attachments, or is that just to help people have a better experience? What's the
Uh,
purpose?
the purpose is it's a form, it's both. It's not only to share that information to help others, but it's also for if you have to sort of step into that world for a specific reason, you're protected, because we are all governed by law, whether it's universal law, spiritual law, or the laws on earth at this time. So you sort of have to play by the rules. And the best way to do that is to have the law on your side.
Very good.
But
And
sovereign
so,
law, not
so
manipulated law.
sovereign law.
Yes.
Very good. Will there be a lot of people that are starting to step into that type of service, writing that sovereign
Yes.
law?
Once they know that it exists and that it's possible, it's all very new. There's a very small community of people who understand what that is and who actually put it into play in their lives, into practice in their lives.
Very good. And she also feels drawn to learning more about homeopathy. Is that a part of her path?
It could be if she chooses to.
What's the highest path or direction for her? What should she be focusing on?
That's going to be undetermined at this time. She came into this world or into this incarnation with several different possibilities. She's on that one of those possibilities right now. If she were to stay in the arts, and it will always be a part of her, because she's had many previous lifetimes with artistic lives, and being involved in the arts is just very much a part of who she is as a soul. Very much creative, but she can still have that in her life and do other things. So if she were to pursue homeopathy, she may end up working with clients if that's something she chooses, but she could also, mainly help herself and her loved ones.
And me. Let's just throw
Yes.
me in there because I need a lot of help in that area.
Will you fall under the loved ones category?
Very good. I love that. Oh, okay. So I think we have recovered everything that we need to for
Yes.
today. Um,
Great.
Anything else before I bring her back again that you would like to share? Anything else? Any other messages?
We feel we are complete today.
Very good. So I would like to thank all the guides for hanging with us in this adventurous session. And I'm now going to ask all of these beautiful beings to begin to recede back to your time, space, dimension, and reality with much love and much thanks for the information you've shared and the healing that you've provided.